have found, again, I'll go back to listening. When a child feels that he's being listened to, that somebody is there tuned in, they tend to come to you. So if a child is truly facing a serious issue, they will come to you and talk to you about it. And I think something that I had to learn, and I learned this from my oldest daughter, is my first response to her is, this is what you should do, blah, 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 blah. And I can go through and give her my suggestion. I had to learn to be quiet and say, I understand that you're frustrated in this situation. What do you think is the solution? Mm-hmm. And she would give me what she thought she could do. If it's something that I think that's a pretty good idea, I don't know if it'll work or not, I can say, don't try it. See if it works. Right. Let them go out there and do it. You might know it's not going to work. She's going to find something out. But if there's no danger, or anything, and it's just something she's going to learn from that process. She'll come back and say, "That didn't work, Mom." Yeah. Well, why didn't it work? What could we change? What happened? Tell me about it. And that conversation happens. And that is all. You're teaching them first about trust and trusting somebody that that you're working with. Also gaining confidence in themselves because something didn't work. Well, I'm not giving up. I'm going to try something else. Yeah. And that is just a life lesson that we implement every day for everything that we do. So many times it's kind of like wearing the mask. We think we have to do everything perfectly. We have to get it done right on the first try. And that's great if you can do it. But most of the time, I would say, no, that isn't the way it's done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I read a book, I remember a year ago, that kind of changed my perspective around working with youth. There's something around taming the advice monster and asking questions. And as adults, we always just want to tell the kids, you need to do this, you need to do that, right? Instead of asking them questions and letting them kind of, figure it out and make those mistakes, right? As long as it's not dangerous, it's not going to put them in harm's way. I don't know, for me, I know that a lot of times I hear something and I'm like, I'll go figure it out on my own. Then I'm like, and then I learn the lesson, right? It's more powerful to learn the lesson yourself and kind of go through that process. And you're right. It does build confidence, because if you do get it right, you build that confidence like, oh, I made that decision and then this happened and it worked. All right. I have this, right? I have this feeling. So I love that.
I would ask you, when you started your podcast, did you really know what you were doing?
No way. No, I didn't. And this is in the second podcast that I'm on. In the first podcast, I really had no idea. And even though I did a podcast before, I kind of stopped for a year, and I still was kind of nervous about what in the world I was doing. And if the people that are listening that listen to the first few episodes, even of this Bridging Impact podcast, I was definitely nervous in the way, and now I'm more confident because I keep doing it. I keep going through my own progress. I could ask, any other podcaster, what's it like? And I could just lean on them, but they can't tell me all the answers. I have to kind of, figure that out along the way for myself.
Absolutely. I think about when I started my nonprofit, I had no idea what I was doing. I just knew what I wanted to accomplish with it. And it was amazing how many people came into my life and said, you're going to need to do this. I can do that part for you. Attorneys, CPAs. I mean, people were coming in and saying, I used to be an IRS agent. I can do your, for your 501c3. Really? Great. Because I'm,
right.
And people came in and helped me do what I needed to do. And again,
exactly.
As much as I feel like this is very personal, it's a project that's very personal, I could not have done it without the community coming together to help me and support me in it.
Yeah, and I think that's another valuable lesson. I love, this is my favorite quote of all time. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And it is amazing once you start rallying around a project, at first, I had a harder time kind of, figuring out who's going to be a guest on my show, this and that. And now I'm at a point where I'm overflowing with guests. I'm reaching out to people like yourself that I meet, on Medium and Twitter. And then I have people that are in my life, like, in the physical world. So it's like kind of all happening. And I thought I was only going to do 12 episodes. Well, I'm like, I don't want to stop. I want to keep going. Like I get a lot of joy of having this conversation, with you in Nebraska, talking about caring, talking about service, talking about leadership, just by starting and asking myself questions and going on that own journey.
Well, I appreciate the fact that you're doing this, because you're giving not only myself, but everyone that you interview a voice. And it's enabling us to connect with people all over who have similar either interests or need to hear this. Maybe they're the kid who's struggling going, you know what? I might have a voice in this.
Yeah.
Do something. You will never know the impact that you are having.
I know. I think that is honestly one of the most interesting things, as someone that is probably has grown up in the kind of like social media era. And this is something that I've been challenged with, is like, the impact is not the likes, comments, subscribes, or whatever it is, right? Like, that's so measurable in our logical head. Like, is this like always judges ourselves on this? But I know that the impact that I have when I'm at a boys and girls club, when I'm coaching basketball, when I'm just working with youth, is so much more impactful. And having these conversations where someone that listens to this probably won't like reach out to me because they might or yourself, right? They might not feel comfortable, but they're impacted by this conversation. And that's why I do it. And I'm sure that's why you do it as well.